Welcome to the Bitcoin Source Podcast, the ultimate destination for all things Bitcoin. Today we have an inspiring guest with us, Wesley, the president of Bitcoin Bay Foundation. Wesley's mission to create a global payment system for local communities and foster a circular economy through Tampa Bay and other surrounding communities has landed him on this podcast today, ladies and gentlemen. So let's delve into some thought provoking questions. Welcome, Wesley.
Hey man, yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Most definitely. And of course, usually like when I do things on this show, like because I'm a bookworm, I usually always ask people like what's the first books that they've ever encountered when you got orange pilled. But I've done that so many different times. I'm going to switch it up with you, Wesley, and I just kind of want to know more about, what you're all about as far as the Bitcoin Bay Foundation. So I know that aims to build this global payment system for the local communities in your area of Florida, but could you elaborate on how you envision Bitcoin fostering local resilience and strengthening the sense of community in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, of course. It's probably better than me just talking about the Bitcoin standard and when money dies and all that, anyways. Um, we spun out of just the local bit devs. So I'm not actually the first. I just showed up one day, January of last year. We had a lightning dev that was running bit devs, and I became good friends with him and a couple other guys at that meetup, and we hit it off really quick. And then he pitched us on the idea for Bitcoin Bay. I can't take credit for the idea. I am running with it. But yeah, the goal, for us is to become like the brain of Bitcoin in the Tampa Bay area. It's a decentralized network, it's a decentralized movement, which is fantastic. But anyone who has spent any time in libertarian space or anything like that is decentralized stuff has a way of not getting done. Until people come in with a vision and a plan and start actually trying to move people along. And that was what we decided to do about a little over a year ago now. Kind of got to the point where we were like, okay, well, we were having weekly meetups, 101 workshops, hand holding people through setting up wallets, practicing their first transactions. Because BitDevs was just going over, it still goes over to my head. I'm not a technical guy. And turns out neither are 99% of the people that came. Because when gas was almost at $5 a gallon and Bitcoin was at $66,000 a coin, these people weren't trying to learn about Taproot, you know. um, so it kind of got to the point where we were doing this, and I was like, all right, this is fun and all, but like I'm getting a little over sitting around at the bar with a bunch of dudes circle jerking about Bitcoin. So we decided to organize there, and actually at the Miami conference was when our incorporation paperwork got passed through. So as of May 18th of this year, we are a nonprofit corporation in the state of Florida. So I think we're the first nonprofit to meet up to turn into a nonprofit in the United States. So one of our goals is to kind of build out that blueprint for people. One, see if it works. We don't want people to go down this path and then we fail a year and a half from now because we didn't think of these three things. But we want to help because it's very simple really to become a nonprofit, and especially if you're going to be a small group in a small town, the paperwork is pretty negligible. If you anticipate pulling in less than $50,000 for your first 3 years, it's a one-page document, and then you have specific language in your articles of incorporation and then in your bylaws. So it's just that stuff that like no one really knows that you pay people hundreds of dollars for, that we want to be able to create like a package for and send it out. And even if people don't want to incorporate, but like have a meetup starter kit. Here is a presentation on what is money, Bitcoin 101. Here's a flyer for local businesses. Here are meeting standards, rules that we have found that help us kind of maintain order and keep people from coming in trying to shill their own projects. Just really just try to grease the wheels for other people to start getting meetups going in their own area. We are focused on the Bay. All of our meetups are in person, so all of our in person efforts are within, I'm saying, 100 miles of Tampa International Airport. But the digital content that we produce, like I want that as much as it's useful is as far as I want it to go. Um, so it's probably a long way of. I don't know if I actually answered the question, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So Wesley, next question for you. So of course, in recent years, we've seen a growing focus on decentralization and sustainable solutions, i.e., pertaining to Bitcoin. How does Bitcoin's decentralized nature align with the goal of building a circular economy in Tampa Bay? I know you kind of expounded on that a little bit, but I
Mhm.
kind of want to get more into your personal side of like what you've done in Tampa Bay outside of the Bitcoin Bay Foundation and what inspires you in this newfound town that you've landed in for Bitcoiners.
Yeah, so it empowers people the same way the gold standard empowered people back in the day. Whenever you have a medium of exchange that isn't at the whims of some geriatric person, it turns out you're able to transact a little more efficiently. So one of our big focuses here is our business network, trying to create that minimum viable product for that circular economy. And what my motivating factor was, we were talking a little bit before this. I was up in Boston during COVID, and I moved back home to Tampa, and seeing the madness up there, and then the supply chain issues coupled with the whole anti-meat brigade, I wanted to make sure that the farmers here, one, that I could secure beef for myself and for my family, but two, that they could continue to get paid as these things continue to deteriorate. If anyone has read When Money Dies, I'm sure they remember the part where the citizens go out to the farms and the farms aren't taking the paper money anymore, and hungry people don't really take no for an answer. So as much as people may not be fans of cities, it's better for everyone if the city people stay inside the cities, and the way they do that is making sure the food is still going into the city. So we've started the Florida Beef Initiative here as well. So we've got beef boxes that you can buy in Bitcoin from local ranchers. So we're really excited about that. When we did that, the first night we launched, we sold like about $3,000 worth of beef in Bitcoin. Fifth generation Florida rancher guy who had no idea what he was walking into when he just to a meetup full of ravenous Bitcoiners. But and also keeping the money here. I'm sure many people have seen the meme of why cash is better than credit cards, because for every 3% fee, uh, you know you make 10 transactions, that $100 is now $50. Whereas if you hand a $50 bill, everyone has that $50. So a similar thing can be done with mostly the Lightning Network, because you still have to pay those transaction fees, but it's at least it's not getting sucked out and being shipped overseas, blowing people up. It's going to miners or node runners. So it helps progress the network, and at least in that situation. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely very early days. I mean, but we've got HVAC guy, we've got roof inspectors, cabinet refinishers, personal trainers, hairstylists. So it's just we want to make this like kind of like the vacation spot for Bitcoiners. We're not gonna be able to compete with Nashville or Austin. They've got the VC funds and the head start, so that's great, and I love it. And Lord willing, we'll blow them all out of the water, because they're gonna come here, and we're gonna have a circular economy where they can come and spend their coin. You have a place you can stay. You upgrade that package, and we'll have a beef box sitting there waiting for you with some steaks some steaks I thought out in the fridge for your first night. You'll have places to go for entertainment. It's not going to be everywhere, but you don't need everywhere. You need enough. So that's kind of what we're starting with. We're just trying to be realistic, and know that we're not going to hyper Bitcoinize 6 million people overnight.
And you know what's beautiful about it? Like I've interviewed so many people on this show, and one person was from, I want to say he's from like Montana or Utah. He has like a whole Bitcoin and beef initiative. But what really changed my mind about it was Saifuddin, his brother Ahmad Amus. I actually interviewed him. They're both doctors, of course, and we were talking about the carnivore diet. My qualm with beef or just chicken and all these other things was like I didn't trust the grocery store. But now, because of this Bitcoin initiative, where you're having these connections with the local butcher, with the farmhand, with the person actually curating this meat, that would make me feel a lot more comfortable to eat that meat if I know where it's coming from. I have a connection with that person and I'm paying them in Bitcoin. I think that that incentivizes the whole entire industry to move from a centralized approach to a decentralized approach with the meat industry. So I commend you, Wesley, for what you're doing in Tampa with the beef and with just getting people to eat healthy and to be focused on their food.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's the trust, because that's in short supply these days. And that's really at the core of what we're trying to do here is rebuild a trust is build a trust network. There who you're dealing with because they're one of our members or they're a family of one of our members. That if we're recommending someone, it's because one, we use them, and two, we vetted them. We're not just gonna like, oh, hey, this guy takes Bitcoin, everyone should use them. Like, but if you're gonna provide shitty services, or excuse me, we're not gonna be recommending you, because like that's not this isn't about just spending Bitcoin. That's not Bitcoin is a tool, for it's the means to an end of hopefully um, revitalizing the local community, and especially in cities. When I lived in Boston, I lived in an apartment. I couldn't tell you the people who lived either next to me, above me, or below me, or across the hall from me. I never saw them. So we want to make this like we want to restore a sense of community and neighborliness, in a society that's become very atomized. The I mean, we're all individuals, but like no man's an island, and that's definitely been like um, a mindset change that I've had to like undergo. Is that like, yeah, I am a strong individual, and I don't take orders well, but like fix I can't fix my fan. I can't fix my AC unit. You know, so that's why you need community. And I can't raise a cow on my 1,000 square foot yard.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that 100%, Wesley. And, speaking of community and just thinking about Tampa, because Tampa is one of those places to me, like, I've been to Florida a bunch of times, I've been to Miami, and like Tampa like that gem. Like, I think like that's definitely going to be the next big city to like bolster the Bitcoin initiatives that you're seeing. Like, the weather's awesome, the people are awesome, the food is great in the area, and it's also known for its diverse industries, right? You talked about
Mhm.
all these different initiatives people have. So how does Bitcoin Bay Foundation tailor its efforts to address the unique needs and challenges of different industries in the region? And could you share any like success stories or testimonials from local businesses that have integrated Bitcoin into their operations?
Yeah. So it is a super diverse area, and it's one of the best cities in the country, like I was saying. But don't tell anyone. Uh, we're full. But yeah, we have a lot of finance, cybersecurity people here. MacDill Air Force Base
Yep.
is huge. There's a huge healthcare industry here as well. I mean, Tampa General is allegedly according to their ads, one of the best hospitals in the country. So I see these industries as like ripe for either integration or disruption. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of crowd health at this point. I love them. My roommate uses them. One of their guys is one of our guys. Um, and I see like these behemoths and these old industries as ready to be kind of disrupted through that. But I'm not gonna lie, it has been slow going on the business adoption front. FTX exploding in January has made everyone step back. The recent price increase has helped a little bit, but but we've thrown business workshops that have been well attended. We have a trucking company here that's looking to integrate Lightning to do pay per mile, like streaming Sats while the driver is driving. So that's something we're excited about. Our Ben, our Lightning developer, is working on that with them. We have an a full stack IT and tech consulting company that has pivoted to trying to run Nostra relays. They're called Relay Foundry. One of our really good, really supportive members is there as well. So what we're seeing is less integration and then more innovation. It's been more new people coming into this than the old people. changing, which, early adopters, it's what it is. So, we're just going to have to set the standard, and, then drag them kicking and screaming along once they've realized that, we're all still functioning and we're hopefully thriving, especially as things continue to increase in volatility. Um, but yeah, so we're working on a block party for there's a couple of areas in the city that are like semi self-contained, with like the restaurants and the entertainment areas in them. It's like a company that manages the space. So we're going to start doing some block parties here soon to see if we can push some mass adoption events on the area. So that's something we're trying to do in the fall, once things cool down a little bit.
Nice, nice. I love to hear it, man. You guys are doing so much for just Tampa, and of course, I expect to see you guys blow up really big once this halving hits in 2024 and the price shoots up. Everybody's going to become a Bitcoiner again, and if you've been in this game long enough and you've lived through a couple cycles, you realize that there's like ebbs and flows with this whole entire industry. So it's really good. Like all the great things are built during, the bear market. So it's we're in that space right now. And I kind of want to throw a curveball at you, Wesley, where like I want to hear your thoughts on the cryptocurrency space. So, of course, the cryptocurrency space is associated with innovation and new technologies. Are there any like specific advancements or developments in the Bitcoin ecosystem that you believe will be particularly impactful in supporting Bitcoin adoption and usage in local communities?
So I gotta say, I'm not the tech guy. I wish I could tell you what Taproot meant. Um, I think the Lightning Network and Arc, as I tried to understand it when we did a bit devs on it, the layer two technologies, I think, scaling, the scaling technologies are really going to be the ones that kind of help push this forward, because because like you said, the halving comes, price does what it does. And we've been building only in a bear market. It's been a bear market from the moment we started up until now. So whether we're fortunate or not, and that's why we're trying to build out our systems to be ready to scale when that halving comes and people start flooding back in, because we need to be ready for that. Because if we don't catch them, the B cashers will, or they're going to lose their own. They're going to try and do it themselves, and they're going to lose money, just like many of us have as we try to figure this out ourselves. But to answer your question about the technology, I would probably say, the stuff that's happening on layer twos. I wish I understood more, but that's not my department, as we like to say.
For me, like I'm a big proponent of Cash App. It's just super easy. It's on my phone. I stack some Bitcoin on there and then I can use that as like a debit card, right? Or if I'm at a local meetup and people are only accepting Bitcoin, it just makes it a lot easier to just have Bitcoin on hand. And that Lightning Network has been super impactful in doing that on that front. So I agree with you. I think the millennials, the Gen Zers, I think we fall into that realm where we just want use case. We want to be able to, of course, stack Bitcoin, but we also want to be able to transact peer to peer. And of course, Bitcoin's potential as a global payment system is kind of like teetering on the edge of this explosion that a lot of people are not aware of. I always wanted to know from you, Wesley, like economic, important considerations for your company, the Bitcoin Bay Foundation. How do you address any barriers or challenges to Bitcoin adoption for individuals or businesses in Tampa Bay that might have questions? Like, do people actually come to you guys for those kind of solutions, or do they kind of like use like educational platforms or things like that?
Yeah, so we have our weekly meetups that are pretty well attended, especially as price has gone up. So people, know where to find us. We do offer also one-on-one consulting. We've done some corporate trainings. We've done some guest lectures at some local universities. And we actually are just, this week launching our Bitcoin guidance program, which is going to be kind of like that more group. Everyone's selling membership groups. So are we now. Um, but it's going to be, that kind of just showing you the way. Like, hey, watch out for that. I fell in that hole 4 years ago. Here, let's step over this one. Um, because like we're a small team, so we're hoping that this can be a scaling mechanism for something, like this, because the education is out there. There is so much free education, and I'm sure we'll catch some crap for Bitcoiners for charging for education, but it's a lot to sift through. It's taken me 6 years now
Yep.
to get where I am, doing everything myself, listening to podcasts, reading books. Some people don't have the time for that. They've got kids, they've got jobs, or they run their own businesses, and they need people to come in and talk to their whole staff. I go to the business owner, hey, let's get IBEX in here. Okay, yeah, sure. None of my staff knows what Bitcoin is.
Hmm.
So how is that really going to work? Because when I go to try to use it, the person's like, actually, yeah, you're the first one trying to do this. So that's going to be a good source of our focus here. Upcoming is once school starts, we want to start an incentive program for the local college students. Like every business you onboard, you get $50 in Sats, and using that to create, keep this business network. And it is tough. This scaling out. Who knew scaling's tough. I guess that's not really groundbreaking to say. Um, but we're excited because it's such an opportunity. I mean, because our business, we're in the education business, and no one knows anything. Very few people know very little. Like if you ask the normal person, even what is money, they'll tell you debt, the dollar, gold. And I'm like, okay, well, you have your unit account and you have your medium of exchange, but these things aren't like you're not describing money. You're describing things that are masquerading as money at this point. So there's definitely a long way for us to go, but I mean that's why we chose to be a nonprofit, was because as a 501c3 status, you can education is a tax exempt endeavor.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to utilize that, um, and since everything we do is education, pretty much. You have any conversation with anyone, I mean, this is education. Whoever watches this, we give this to someone else. I mean, the consulting's education. The corporate trainings are education. It's all teaching. I mean, because that's all we do. We talk about privacy 101, storage. I mean, it's you name it. We want to be taking anyone from where they are to where they want to be, which in my mind is cold storage with your own node, and maybe even a miner. That just feeds it.
Mhm.
But everyone's different, so we try and meet people where they are.
In today's fast paced digital world, showing your support for the things you love doesn't have to break the bank. With just a few seconds of your time, you can help us at the Bitcoin Source by liking our content, subscribing to our channel, pressing the notification bell, and leaving a comment with your thoughts. Every interaction helps us to grow and improve, and we are grateful for your support. So if you are a fan of our content, take a moment to show your love and help us to continue to deliver high quality, informative content about Bitcoin and the world of cryptocurrency. Your support means the world to us, and we can't thank you enough for being a part of the Bitcoin Source community. Now back to the episode. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, I'm so excited for this company, man. Like, the people in the Tampa Bay area have a real gem on their hands, and there's not a lot of companies out there doing this right now. I mean, there's a few, but I mean, Florida as a whole, like, there's a gap there, and I think that Tampa is going to definitely be on the forefront of making some big changes. And Wesley, the last question I have for you is about thinking about the future, right? So, like, what are your visions or aspirations for the Bitcoin Bay Foundation and how it will impact Tampa Bay down the road? Like, do you think there's any upcoming projects or expansions that you guys are excited about that will further enhance the adoption connection of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin Bay Foundation?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that we're cooking. Actually, I don't know when this is going to air, but August 1st we're going to be having a rebrand. So this logo that I'm wearing is not going to be the current logo anymore. So we're rebranding. Um, we're not changing anything. We're just this was a Fiverr logo, so we got an actual guy and we gave him some stats. Um, and so to answer your question about our goal, it's to educate and hopefully onboard 1 million people in the Bay Area. So there's 6 million people here. I think we can do that. Um, and it's going to take a while. When you start breaking that down, like, oh wait, crap, that's like 10,000 people a day for the next 10 years. But that's why scaling comes. And so the things we're excited about the events is that block party that I mentioned. Hopefully here in the fall, as we start, we just started talking with the venue about doing that. So as more information comes on that, we'll definitely be putting that out there. In early, within January, February, we're going to be having our first Florida Beef Initiative Summit down here, and very excited about that. Just showcasing the ranchers. I mean, Florida is one of the biggest cattle states in the country. One of the top producers in the world as well. A lot of our rearing gets done here because it's rainy and sunny all the time. So grass grows pretty well, if you can believe it. So, and then we are going to be, hopefully by this point, the IRS will have given the Bitcoiners permission to not pay taxes because it's a decently long process. But hopefully by March, we are going to be hosting, we're calling our Sound Money Soiree. It's going to be kind of a grand opening, an announcement party. Grand opening for Tampa as the next Bitcoin city, a celebration of getting our tax exempt status, um, and a way to showcase the businesses in Tampa, like the finance and the real estate, and integrating with all of the Bitcoin companies like Unchained or 1031 or River, the mining companies. Because I would really love to bring mining to Florida. That was actually how we got started. That was one of the things we started, was trying to set up a mine for the meetup, to fund the meetup. But unfortunately, we import almost all of our power, so it just isn't economical. But that aside, just grand opening of Tampa as the next Bitcoin city. Just that way the people here are taking us seriously, and the people out there are taking us seriously too, because I mean we're a couple of 24 to 28-year olds. It's easy to blow us off, but I wouldn't for much longer.
Most definitely. And there's always solar, right? So like Florida has tons of sun. If you can get some miners on your team or get people that know how to build, like I think solar would be a huge benefit to you guys, and you wouldn't have to rely so much on outside power. But that's kind of over my brain speed at this moment. But that's just a thought when you were mentioning that.
Yeah, unfortunately with solar, it rains so much here,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of cloud cover.
Mm.
Especially in the middle of the day. I mean, it rains in the summer probably from 2 to 4, just about every
Yeah.
day, which is peak.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean there are some solar projects going down here, and I'm not the biggest fan of solar for grids.
Mm.
So something I wouldn't mind doing is anytime a project pops up, just putting down a container of miners and be like, next, we can keep doing this. But I can get into the whole energy generation side. That was what I wanted to do out of college, was I wanted to build nuclear reactors.
Okay.
So I got pretty disillusioned with renewables for the grid pretty early on, which was a bummer because I did like them. But that's probably a whole other podcast.
Well, Wesley, man, this episode has been awesome. I really appreciated you coming on, talking about the Bitcoin Bay Foundation, everything that you're doing as a Bitcoiner to kind of help your community, and your dedication to building this circular economy and fostering Bitcoin adoption has been truly inspiring. Before you go, can you give people your social media handles and any like last words you want to give the audience before we break out?
Yeah. So our website is bitcoinbay.live. .com is an online gambling website, and we are not affiliated with them. So it's .live, and once we raise some money, we'll probably buy .org. But bitcoinbay.live. On Twitter, it's at bitcoinbaytpa, not to be confused with the Bcashers in Toronto, who are calling themselves Bitcoin Bay as well. But those are our main Twitters. You can find our Noster on there as well. I don't really know how to do a shill a Noster account. I'm not going to. Our NPub starts with Tampa, which is pretty cool. Um, but yeah, no, I mean that's. I think I've kind of covered a lot of my stuff, but I'll just say it again. Like we want to make, like I said, we want to make this vacation spot for Bitcoiners. So what we want to do is build something Bitcoiners want. So if there's anything that your audience, or people that you're talking to want to see, we'd love to hear from people. So I mean, there's a contact form on our website. Um, Fill it out, get in touch. Our Telegram's open. If people want to hop in, and join the conversation. That's bitcoinbay.bitcoinmeetup.chat. Shout out to I forget who made that for us, but he's a cool guy. Um, and yeah, we want to build what Bitcoiners want. So we and also we're working on getting a physical space as well. So we want to try and beat out the Commons and Bitcoin Park, which is going to be tough because Bitcoin Park's a cool place. So we want to be able to host people and bring people in. We actually just had Greg Foss at our last
Nice.
meetup. He just was in St. Pete, and we just kept our whole meetup started bugging him on Twitter until he came in. But yeah, we want to be welcoming. We want to be hospitable. We want to create a space that people want to come to. So, which is why a lot of our events are in the fall and the winter. So yeah, please reach out on bitcoinbay.live. Tell us what you want to see, and if it's something we can do, we'll make it
Definitely. And
happen.
I'll also add all your information in the bottom of this video. Everybody out there, if you like what Wesley is saying, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, please check out the Bitcoin Bay Foundation. They're doing some great work down there. So please like, subscribe on the video, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.